Hello guys, I am back with another message. There is an email that we received from one of our dear listeners. Then our admins had to send this email to me. So the message reads like this. It is a continuation of a message that I shared on this platform. So the message reads like this. I will find myself treating myself whenever my private parts will be so itchy almost every day, and I didn't know any peace. What is worse is that whenever I would ask him about it, he would completely deny it. It is like he had a PhD in lying and hiding secrets. I once saw a message on his phone of one particular girl he had forced into getting an abortion. She also asked him how he could do such a thing. He had promised he would make her the wife if she aborted the baby, but he was lying. There were many that did this for him, thinking that he would commit to them. Some would even report him to his parents, but they would just protect him because he was their son. Instead, they would embarrass these girls and accuse them of being after their son and their money. Like I said, Brother Nashi, I was still very young and still very naive. Now that I look back at it with a sound mind, I think these pastors were just using our destinies. They would make sure all of us that come close to them would amount to nothing. If you were rich, you would suddenly lose all of your wealth. In a very strange way, you will be forced to depend on them. How is it possible that the whole church had about 90% of the people that will be unemployed and begging? They don't even have the desire to work. All they want to hear is the prophecies of God calling them into the ministry. One particular lady who came very close to them lost her marriage, her business, and all of her money. She was a very rich mine owner, but the moment she came close to the pastor, all of her businesses got closed down, and she is now fully begging them to survive. I myself would wake up with strange marks on my body every day. It would be like something was busy scratching me throughout the night. When I would inform them, they would pray for me, but the problem would even worsen. A lot of things happened, but I am just touching here and there. I had one daughter with my husband and they wanted a son. They were very unhappy, and so the pressure to give birth again started on me. In 2 years' time, I was pregnant again, and unfortunately for them, it was another baby girl. The pastor had been telling the whole church that I would have a boy, but God said no. I knew that it would be a girl again because another lady came and told me that she had a dream, and in that dream, my baby was a girl. And when she asked God in the dream why it was not a boy, seeing the need for a boy in my life, God answered her that it was so as to protect me. At that time, I didn't even understand what he was protecting me from, but I kept the dream in mind. After my baby was born, I noticed everyone was now acting strange. My husband was disconnected and he was not even talking to me much in those days. He did not even want to touch the baby. Little did I know that they were making plans to send me away secretly, and they had already made plans for my husband to get married to another girl, so that the girl that he would have married will take my place. I called his mom and I asked to speak to her, hoping she would help me reason with my man because he was now very distant. I had no idea that she was also in on it, and she was the brains behind the whole thing. I prayed a lot, Brother Nashi. I was so afraid of being a single mother of two at such a young age. I begged God to please save my marriage. During the week, they would all go to church for midweek service and leave me alone with a newborn baby. I would pray throughout the day, but to my surprise, that one day when they returned, they had some church elders with them, and I was called to the living room where they were all seated with my husband, who was also there. It was as if they had nothing but one mission, and that mission was to gang up on me that day. They informed me that my husband was no longer happy with me and that I was not a good woman to him. Many stories were brought up against me, and I could not even defend myself because all of these people who were accusing me, it looked like they had planned this thing for a very long time. I went on my knees and I started begging him. I apologized to him, even though I knew that I was not even in the wrong. I asked him to please fix things for the sake of our girls because they were still so small. In a harsh tone, his father, in brackets the pastor, told me to stand up. He told me that fixing things will never be possible and that I had to be taken home with my newborn baby tomorrow morning. I would have to leave my toddler behind. The problem came when I refused. They now threatened me by saying that if I refuse, that means that we will not be able to fix things between us in the future. It was now me and his mother speaking. She said, if I don't leave my baby behind, I will not get my husband back, and also they would want their lobola money back, the ones that they had given to my parents, of which, since the lobola money was not given to me, I responded that my parents should have been there to represent me, and then you could demand the money back from them. I had suddenly summoned the courage to speak because I could not afford to lose my daughter to these fake pastors. They had claimed that I had disrespected them by talking back to them. I was not supposed to talk back to them. I was just supposed to accept everything that they were telling me. I think it was part of their plan so that they could be able to blame it on me. Then an idea to call my parents came to me, and they agreed to come and fetch me the following day. This was when they realized that they couldn't win in the baby fight, so they forced me to sign some papers that said if I am taking my daughter, that means that they will not support the kids. To this day, they do not even support these kids, let alone to visit them. Even their father doesn't care about them. He even refused to sign the birth certificate papers for the youngest one because they needed his signature since he was in the hospital birth forms. My brother, I had to cry and beg the hospital manager. That is how she had pity on me and did a birth certificate for my daughter. At church the following Sunday, they told everyone everything that had happened. I packed and left on my own. After I had taken the kids, they said that they won't be supporting the kids anymore. They blamed me for so many things. All of these things, they did it publicly. It was like I was the villain and them and their son were innocent. People at church were busy clapping their hands. Christians behave like they've been brainwashed sometimes. I was then chased away from the church and told to never set my foot there again. They wanted nothing to do with me or the kids. I left with my wedding ring, of which they kept demanding it back. I ignored their messages, but now they were sending boys to come looking for me, searching for those rings. I knew that if I gave them my wedding rings, they might use those against me. I even relocated to somewhere they don't know, fearing for my own safety and for the safety of my kids. That same week, my husband was already with a new girl, and 3 months they were already married. He had completely forgotten about me and the kids because I was not able to give him a son. I had turned into nothing but a laughing stock. For 1 week, I was even trending on Facebook. People were saying the pastor's son left his wife and immediately married another one in the same church. My brother, I had become something like a joke, and what is worse is that people who go to that church were now telling me that those people say that I would suffer with my kids, and eventually I would come back running to them, begging them to take at least one kid. At that point, I was no longer sleeping at night. Those people were now attacking me spiritually. It had been a rough year, but God was still on the throne. I tried my best to summarize my story. The story is just too long. I will try to be back with part 2. Dear listeners, that was the second part that was sent to us by our dear sister. She sent it via our email address. Quite a sad story, Strange things do happen in this world. Please let us try to speak with our dear sister in the comment section.